Who are you?
Ben Gunn. I'm poor Ben Gunn. I haven't spoken to a Christian in these 3 years.
3 years? Were you shipwrecked?
Naymate marooned. I was marooned 3 years ago. And survived mostly on goats and some berries and oysters. Where a man is, says I, a man can do for himself. But my heart is sore for a Christian diet. You mightn't happen to have a piece of cheese about you now, would you? No? Well, many a nights I've dreamed about cheese, toasted mostly, and I woke up and here I were.
If ever I can get aboard again, you should have cheese by the stone.
If ever you can get aboard again, says you, well, who's to hinder you?
Not you, I know.
And right you was. Now you, what do you call yourself, mate?
Jim.
Jim. Jim. Well now, Jim, I have lived that rough as you'd be ashamed to hear of. Now, for instance, you wouldn't think I had a pious mother to look at me.
Why, no, not in particular.
Ah, but I had. Remarkable pious. And I was a civil and pious boy. I could rattle off me catechism so fast as you could not make one word from the next. And it all began with a chuck farthing on the blessed gravestone. And predicted by me mother, the pious woman. But it was Providence that brought me here, Jim. I've thought it out on this lonely island. And it always comes back to piety. I'll not taste the rum. Well, perhaps a thimbleful for luck when I get the chance. I'll be good, Jim, and I knows the ways. And Jim, I'm rich. I'll be rich, Jim. I'm rich, Jim. I'm rich. I'll make a man of you. You bless your stars that you found me first. Now, Jim, tell me true. Is that Flint's ship?
It's not Flint's ship, and Flint is dead. But I'll tell you true as you ask me. There are some of Flint's hands aboard. Worse luck for the rest of us.
Not a man with one leg?
Silver?
Ah, Silver were his name.
He's the cook. And the ringleader, too.
If Long John sent you, I'm as good as pork. Where were you, do you suppose?
I had made my mind up in a moment, and by way of answer, told him the whole story of our voyage and the predicament in which we found ourselves.
You're a good lad, Jim. And you're all in a clove hitch, ain't you? Well, you just put your trust in Ben Gunn. Ben Gunn's the man to do it. Do you think it likely that your squire's of the liberal mind in case of help? Him being in the clove hitch, as you say.
The squire's the most liberal of men.
Aye, but I didn't mean giving me a gate to keep or a suit of livery clothes and such. That's not my mark. What I mean is, would he be likely to come down to the tune of £1,000 out of money that's as good as a man's own already?
I'm sure he would. As it was, all hands were to share.
And a passage home?
Why, the squire's a gentleman. And besides, if we got rid of the others, we should want you to help work the vessel home.
Ah, so you would. Now I'll tell you what. So much I'll tell you, and nothing more. I were in Flint's ship when he buried the treasure. He and 6 along. 6 strong seamen. They was ashore nigh on a week, and us standing off and on the old walrus. One fine day, up went the signal. And here come Flint in a little boat, his head done up in a blue scarf. The sun was getting up. In mortal white he looked about the cutwater. But there he was, you mind, and the 6 all gone, dead and buried. How he done it, not a man aboard us could make out. It was battle, murder, sudden death. Leastways, him against 6. Billy Bones was the mate. Long John was the quartermaster. And they asked him, where was the treasure?
Ah, you can go ashore if you like and stay. But as for the ship, she'll get beat up for more. By thunder.
Well, I was on another ship 3 years back, and we sighted this island. Boy, said I, here's Flint's treasure. Let's land and find it. The captain was displeased with that, but my messmates were all of a mind, and they landed. 12 days they looked for it, and each day they had a worse word for me. Until one fine morning, all hands went aboard.
As for you, Benjamin Gunn, here's a musket and a spade and pickaxe. You can stay here and find Flint's treasure for yourself.
Well, Jim, 3 years have I been here and not a bite of Christian diet. But now you look here. Look at me. Do I look like a man before the mast? No, says you. Nor I weren't, neither, says I. Just you mentioned those words to your squire, Jim. Nor he weren't neither. 3 years he were the man of this island. Light and dark, fair and rain. Sometimes he'll think upon a prayer. Sometimes he'll think about his poor old mother, so she'd be alive. This is what you'll say. But the most time, this is what you'll say, the most time was spent with another matter. Then you give him a nip like I do. Then you'll up and say this. Gunn is a good man, you'll say. And then you'll say this. He puts a precious sight more confidence, a precious sight, mind you, on a gentleman born than a gentleman of fortune, having been one himself.
Well, I don't understand one word you've been saying. But that's neither here nor there, for how am I to get on board?
Ah, that's the hitch. Well, there is my boat, which I made with my own hands. I keep it under the white rock. Should the worst come to the worst, we can try that after dark. Hi! What's that then?
They've begun to fight. Follow me.
To the left, Jim. Left. Under the tree there. That's where I killed my first goat. They don't come down as much. They're all feared mounting on the mastheads for the fear of old Ben Gunn. That's the cemetery.
Cemetery, he must have meant.
You see the mounds? I come here and prayed nows and thens when I think a Sunday was about due. It weren't a chapel, but it seemed more solemn-like. And then, says you, Ben Gunn was short-handed. No chaplain, nor so much as a Bible or a flag, you says.